Morning, Bill.
Good morning, Mark. How are you today?
Good. It was very foggy driving here this morning. Through the hills at Leopold. It was.
But you want to live on the coast with that magnificent sea view you've got.
Couldn't see anything today.
Right. Well, our podcast is going well, Mark. It's we're up to. I think on the last one I said we're close to 250. We've been going for 2021 or whenever it is.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and have a look.
And we used to do it weekly, but now we post them up fortnightly. But I'm really pleased with the way it's going, and it's been, the number of contacts we've made out of this podcast has been fantastic.
And we've got to learn about some really interesting people.
Sure have. Yep.
And we've got more coming up. So
we're just looking at our list this morning.
Yep.
So I think we're full up till nearly next year.
We certainly are. So, Bill, who are we chatting with today?
Today we're talking to Kody Thompson.
So a revisit.
It is a revisit because we interviewed Kody Thompson, I think, on October 27th, 2023. So, but I've been following Kody's, I guess, progress, and Kody is the CEO of WrkPod, which is based in Dumaguete in the Philippines. And I was introduced to Kody because I know his father very well, and his father's helping Kody or working with Kody up at Dumaguete as well. So I know that the model's changed slightly since then, but it's, I guess in Australian terms, we would call it a call centre to put it into perspective, but you'll find out when we talk to Kody, it's probably a bit more than that.
It certainly is. Welcome, Kody.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So, Kody, stretching back to when we first interviewed you, I think you had about 1,000 people working for you. What are you up to now? Where are you? What's your numbers now?
Yeah, around 1,500 we have working in our sites at the moment. At the moment.
And you still have the vision of 10,000?
Yeah, that's the goal. Creating 10,000 jobs is what we're looking forward to.
Okay. So to refresh our listening audience, what does WrkPod do?
Basically, we hire staff for mostly Australian and New Zealand companies, and we hire all different types of staff. I know that it's often called a call center, but the reality is most of our staff are not phone receptionists or anything like that. We hire accountants, engineers, paralegals, graphic designers, video editors. Basically, companies come to us that are looking to find staff overseas. Maybe they're having challenges finding local staff, or maybe they're growing quickly and they need to hire talent fast. And so we basically help them to find the talent that they need to continue to grow their business.
And Kody, what's the role you have then in managing those staff, because they're working in your location?
Yeah, so when we first chatted, we were doing we called it like a self-managed model, where we were charging our clients a recruitment fee. And then we have facilities. We have 9 facilities across the Philippines. We have currently about 2,000 desks across those sites. So we were charging a recruitment fee, and then we would charge our clients a fee to have their staff work from our co-working space. And then our clients would engage the staff directly as freelancers. But we've shifted models of recent times. The main reasons for that was there was some changes in legislation in Australia based on engaging freelancers overseas that had some risk to our clients. And then also we found that a lot of our small business clients would turn over staff more frequently if they weren't used to managing remote staff. So at the start of this year, we focused our attention on our upgraded product, which is where we are involved in supervising and training the staff. We also cover our clients for any employment liability. And so that had become, over the last 12 months, a more popular product. So we just have doubled down on that. And that's the way that our clients engage with us nowadays.
Fantastic. And tell us about the staff in the Philippines. Where do they come from? What's their education? Because we hear wonderful things about the Philippines in the state of the education, but tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, the education's great. It's an English-speaking country in many respects. historically it was a Spanish colony, but then America had a number of military bases there, I think dating back to the World Wars. And so a lot of their universities are American funded or founded universities. So any staff that do a degree in the Philippines, many times a lot of their courses are taught in English. And so, there's great universities there. They speak really great English. And so, we can find all kinds of great talent there that, across many different industries, whether it be accounting through to engineering and marketing and many other disciplines.
And talk about the working environment. You have campuses, I think, for want of a better term. How do they all operate?
Yeah, very similar to like any sort of co-working space you could think of here in Australia. We build buildings usually with 500 or more desks in them. And then they have conference rooms and, town hall meeting rooms and cafeterias and all that type of stuff. If you could think of like any local co-working space here in Australia with a large number of desks, that's kind of like what we build. So it's not like what you would, maybe if you're thinking of a call center, where there's just like a sea of desks, sea of cubicles. That's not really the type of environment that we build. They're more, aesthetically pleasing office spaces, because we believe if you keep the staff happy, then they'll perform better at their jobs. So they'll do a better job for our clients. We'll be able to retain the staff for longer if they enjoy coming to work. So that's all part of how we set up the spaces.
I notice, I follow you extensively on social media, etc., that you've got a real collegiate sort of atmosphere in the areas in which you work. But also, I just mentioned before, I saw a video you did recently, and you spoke about one of your aims being into the local population and the young kids that come and work for you, about having a sense of purpose. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. That's a big part of my life, making your work not just something you do for money, but having a greater purpose and doing something that's going to make an impact in the world. And I think that particular video you're talking about, it was at one of our recent client conferences. We run a conference every year called iGrow. We had about 70 of our clients fly over to the Philippines, and then we run a big conference for their team. So there was about 500 of their staff attending that conference, along with 70 of our clients that had flown over from Australia and New Zealand. So I was talking about the core cultures of WrkPod, and our core cultures are based around the word WrkPod, which is to work hard, be reliable, show kindness, act professionally, make opportunities for others, and then have determination. So they're our core cultures as a company, but a lot of it, is around. You'll notice a lot of those core cultures are around personal values. Like, what do you value as a human being? And I guess what I was challenging my staff and my client staff with was that you can have all of the skills in the world, but if you don't have the right character, then you're not going to be ultimately successful in life. You're going to, you might be successful for a time, but if you don't have a strong purpose and strong character, like what type of person do you want to be? Do you want to be a person who works hard, acts responsibly and is reliable? If you're not that type of person, then you're not going to have success in whatever you do. So, when we talk about performance at work, for me, it starts from the inside out. It's not about the skills you can do with your hands. That can come. You can teach anyone that, but teaching, helping someone with the content of their heart is harder.
Yep.
It's if they've got the right, internal motivations, then the external skills is easy to teach.
So are you unique in, say, let's say it's Dermagetti? Would your business be unique in the way that you're developing young people personally and work-wise? Then I also preface that, we'll go back to our first interview, because you ended up in the Philippines because you went there as a youth worker for a Christian church. So obviously your own values are the basis of what you're following on with there. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that my personal faith has really helped me connect on a deeper level in the Philippines, because much of the Philippines would consider themselves Christian of some nature, mostly Catholic in denomination. And so my faith background has definitely helped me to connect with people on a deeper level there. But I think we are unique in the way that we approach. I mean, all companies, all good companies anyway, invest in their people. But I guess it's not just about skills for me. It's investing in the person's, like I said before, from their inside out. And I think that's served us well, because people know what WrkPod stands for. So the type of people who apply for jobs with us, many of them know my background. They know that I'm a Christian, and that, the types of values that our company, stands for. And I think that for any company, I think that's a good thing, because if people know what you stand for, you tend to attract more of those types of people, as opposed to if people don't know what you stand for, then you get all kinds of different people applying for jobs.
So do you apply that do you vet the companies that try to use your services just as an interest?
Yeah, I have to, yeah. I have had to fire clients before for just not treating staff in a professional way. So we would hold our clients accountable to the way that they treat their people as well, because ultimately it reflects poorly on us.
Yep.
In fact, there's been occasions where clients have, unfairly dismissed staff or things like that, and then we end up having to, attend hearings and things of that nature that, sort of waste our time, and ultimately, our purpose is to help create opportunities for others. As I said, that's one of our core values. And if placing staff with a client who doesn't treat them well doesn't really give them very many good opportunities, it could damage their, career.
That's good, because you're holding up to your values, which is really important.
On the site now, we just before this interview, we touched on some employment issues, and we're sitting here in Victoria where the state government is about to cause havoc with this working from home legislation, etc. But I know with people working overseas or Australian companies employing working overseas, there is a bit of a minefield, and there have been some instances where Fair Work have got involved. Can you give us a snapshot on how you're seeing that play out?
Yeah. So as you said, there's been, particularly the Labor government is not very keen on contractors in general. They don't really like businesses engaging, contractors. They want people on employment contracts. And that extends not just in Australia, but also to overseas. And so there's been a number of cases where Australian businesses have engaged offshore talent through an independent contractors agreement. But then it's been deemed later that they were actually an employee or acting in an employee-employer relationship. One particular case that was with a Brisbane company, there's been about 3 or 4 cases that made it to Fair Work. I think, from my knowledge, only one has been a successful case by the freelancer. But there was one particular case with a Brisbane company where they dismissed a staff member in the Philippines, or dismissed a contractor in the Philippines, and then that contractor submitted to Fair Work, and actually they ended up having to settle. And essentially, the case notes pretty much read that, it doesn't matter what you have on the piece of paper, you can write independent contractors agreement at the top of the agreement, but if you're deciding when they work, how much they charge you,
yep,
when they take holidays,
Yep.
then regardless of what's on the piece of paper, they're an employee and you're an employer. And so you can imagine that would be very costly, because they would have to be brought up to minimum wage standards. There'd be penalties for the dismissal. It doesn't disclose in the case files what they had to pay, but I could imagine it would have been a very, very expensive exercise for that Brisbane firm. So the way that WrkPod encourages our clients, and the way that we service our clients, is we actually employ the staff in the Philippines through our Philippines company, and then we manage all of the compliance and legals.
Yep.
So and we indemnify our clients against any employment risk. So we're the ones who employ the the Filipino, and then our clients have a service agreement with us to provide those services. So if they're hiring a graphic designer, for example, 40 hours a week, then they have a contract with us to supply 40 hours of graphic design services, but we're the ones who actually employ the staff, manage the HR, payroll, all of the employment liability and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
So that's a safer way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you? I mean, I'm going to ask because these sort of things are really popping up across Australia at the moment. Have you had any issues with racism with clients and your staff, or is that you're managing it well, that you're vetting before they get on board?
Yeah, we haven't really had any problems, but we tend to. Most of our marketing is done through known channels. We're not doing like a lot of paid ads that are bringing in random clients.
Yep.
So the clients are fairly well vetted. So we really haven't had any major issues there.
That's good.
Now, just talking about systems and processes. So we've got two questions, I guess. One will be about AI, but the first one will be about technology. So to expand your business, obviously, and to do it effectively in this environment, you would have had to invest it in technology. So explain what you've done to improve the back-end systems and everything.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big ones has been internet security and our network over there. Obviously, being a business that provides remote services to our clients, our internet connection, the ability for the staff to work overseas is obviously the most important backbone of our business. And I know you guys know Roger Mannett, who works for us as our Chief Technology Officer. He looks after our internet infrastructure. We have a great partner in the Philippines as well, who works with us on that, a company called ProNettivity. But basically, we've invested a lot of money in our internet infrastructure. So that's probably the biggest area. Every time we set up a new site, it's about $200,000 to set up the internet infrastructure, because we run our own fiber optic internet lines. So we basically don't use any telcos. So we don't use, over there they have Globe and Smart. We just rent lines. We rent fiber optic lines, and we basically have a complete nationwide private network. So nobody shares our fiber lines. We have full control of our internet connection all the way through to Manila, and then we can control even what sea cables our internet connection travels across in order to connect, say, a staff member with a server in an office in Sydney. So that type of setup is not very common. There wouldn't be many companies like ours that have literally their own private internet infrastructure. Like literally we've set up what a internet service provider does, an ISP provider where they've got a private network and then they sell it to their clients. The only difference is we don't sell it to anyone. We just use it internally.
That's really important. That's really important, isn't it, Kody? Because the risks of because obviously the crew in the Philippines are working on company files in wherever, Melbourne, Sydney, wherever. And
Correct.
it's that they're always, the risk is the third party, isn't it? That somebody's creeping in between. So that's really
Correct.
interesting that you've set up that structure.
And this brings me to the other part of my question about AI. Have you been able to take advantage of the advances in AI?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, we're using it like all day, every day, most of our roles, whether it be screening candidates through to, generating content, web content, blog content, press releases. I mean, my approach to business is basically like when I'm looking at a department, my first question is, do I need this system? It's my first question. Can I delete it? Like, is there a system in my business that is no longer serving the business? So the first thing would be, can I delete it? And then if I can't delete it, can I automate it? If I can't automate it, then I'll employ for it and optimize it. So yeah, that's pretty much every area of the business is like, if this isn't serving us anymore, we should get rid of it. And then if we can't get rid of it, let's automate it. If we can't do that, then let's make sure we optimize it with systems and technology to make it as fast and efficient as we can.
What AI version are you using? Kody?
Yeah, we use a whole bunch. We're on Google infrastructure at the moment, so we use all of our staff have access to Gemini.
Yep.
To a enterprise version of Gemini. So they would use that on every staff member would use that to some capacity, where even if it's just email filtering and
Yep.
helping draft email responses and just basic research or whatever else they're doing as part of their jobs. And then we use Claude a lot for our marketing teams, and Claude's a better system for like building out key skills, like repeatable tasks that you're doing all the time. So say, for example, writing press releases, you can build like skills in Claude that make it fast to do certain types of workflows. We have automated workflows using N8N, like agentic workflows.
Yep.
And then we use some video, like AI video content. I'm trying to think what else. We use ChatGPT's API for our candidate screening. We have our own custom internal software.
Yep.
And so when candidates do video interviews, it transcribes the video interviews and then it scores their results. So it does it reads their resumes and it reads their responses to the questions, and it rates and ranks their interview. So it does the initial screening is done via AI.
Yeah, interesting.
Because we get 500 applicants a week.
I was going to ask you. I assume you get lots of applicants, so there you go.
Yeah, so that just helps you kind of cut out, the bottom 2/3 of candidates just by scoring it using AI. I still think it's really important, obviously, to have human interaction with every process that you're doing. But if you can use AI to help, push and streamline that along, then that really helps.
And the applicant's using AI to create the application. So
Well, 100%.
Kody, I'll take you back a bit. You've come a long way since Lightning Sites, haven't you?
Well, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
For those that are listening, Lightning Sites was one of your early startups up there, and it was you were building websites and doing things like that, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 10 years of building websites. I think I must have put in thousands of hours. If I never have to build a website again, I'll be grateful.
Anyway, it was a successful, I guess, first step in the Philippines, and look where you are now.
So, Kody, where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? What's in your plans?
Well, we've started to build industry-specific brands for WrkPod to target specific industries. So we have a new brand, Super Sidekick, which places staff into gyms, and we've just signed a contract on one of the larger real estate companies in Australia to launch a product into the real estate industry.
Yep.
And then we have an AI brand as well that we are that are placing AI implementers into businesses. So we're kind of I'm working with strategic partners to make WrkPod more accessible to their industries.
Yep.
And basically what we're doing is we're building training frameworks so that we can train people specifically in the industry that they're going to be placed in. And that's been going really well. So over the next 5 to 10 years, my plan to get to 10,000 jobs created is to help bring on what we're calling operating partners, people who have knowledge in specific industries.
Yep.
And then we're basically building out training verticals where we're placing staff into specific industries. So that's going to be my strategy to get to create the 10,000 jobs. And I believe it'll create stickier jobs and better results for our clients, because the staff will come pre-trained with frameworks and AI tools and stuff that'll make them better at their jobs. That's kind of my big plan. I'll just do more of the same over the next 5 or 10 years and just same as what I did when I was building the web development company, just do the boring work every day and try to do it well.
Okay, Kody, from a personal point of view, and I know we're talking to you today, and I believe you're on a farm that you operate in New South Wales. So where do you live?
I live in northern New South Wales, west of Byron Bay.
And how do you manage time between here and Dumagetti, for instance?
Yeah, I go 3 or 4 times a year for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. My father, that you guys know, he moved to Dumagetti. He helps me run the business. So if he wasn't there, then I would need to probably move there.
Yeah.
But with him being over there at the moment, I'm able to kind of split my time between my home here in Australia and the Philippines. And then I have guys that work for me on my farm that look after our cattle property. So I just, I'm a pretend farmer. I just, I just go out and ride my motorbike and look at the cows. But I've got guys that help me, do the daily work.
And I assume you've got a management structure, organisational structure in the Philippines to let it run.
That's right. We have about 100 internal staff, if you include all of our security guards and cleaning, utilities and everything like that. So we have management teams, for every department of the business. And so, a lot of the daily decision-making gets done by them. We have a delegation of authority policy, so they have certain decisions that they make without needing to ask me. And so I try to do that as much as possible to empower leaders underneath me, so that otherwise they just rent your brain all the time. We need everyone to be using their own brains, and that's what we try to do with our management team.
That's your values again.
Yeah.
So, and your dad's background, of course, would be very helpful, because he's been the CEO of large companies employing lots of people. He's got a local government background, and compliance. I would imagine was a key issue, or what he can bring to the table. Which is good. But I saw as I was stalking you again last night, I saw a headline that said, "From youth pastor to accidental millionaire." Right?
Yeah.
So is that a fair assumption?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always funny. That article came out. I mean, I would have been very young when that article came out. I'm not sure.
You were still in the lightning sights, I think, at that stage.
Yeah, I think it might be about 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. But I made the mistake of telling the journalist. He asked me how much profit the company was making, and I was stupid enough to tell him. And then
you learned from that.
And then that article came out. Interestingly, I was speaking at a church conference that weekend, and that article comes out. Youth pastor becomes accidental millionaire. Of course, we know no business is built accidentally. But the article was basically talked about how I took on a volunteer position in church and started doing graphic design as a way to make money while I was doing the volunteer church role, and then the business took off. And then I think that was 3 or 4 years into my business journey, and the business was making $300,000-$400,000 profit a year, and I'd been running it for several years, and so that's where the millionaire statement came from. And
never mind, it sounds good.
Exactly.
From a boy from Bendigo makes good. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic, Kody. I love talking to you, and I love what you're trying to do. The Filipino government must love you.
Yeah, we actually, one of the cool developments actually that we haven't told you guys about is the government has started to give us funding in the Philippines to run training programs. They're very concerned about the rise of AI and what that's going to do because they have a huge call center workforce, like millions and millions of people work in call centers. And that's one of the biggest at risk jobs is just answering phones or doing very low skilled work. Whereas obviously, as I mentioned before, WrkPod places skilled professionals.
Yep.
Yeah, and so they're giving us funding now to run training programs. So we're running like retraining programs, helping people who are finishing university or who are coming out of like a call center role, and helping reskill them to get virtual professional roles online. So that's been really, really cool. So a lot of the universities are, wrapped with us. One of the islands, Negros Island that we're on, TESDA, the training organization, has basically given us their entire budget for this year to run those programs. So, so that's
good.
I hope to do more of that. It's very meaningful work.
That's fantastic. So for listeners, WrkPod.com.
Yep. WRKPOD.
Yep. And you're trackable on LinkedIn, Kody Thompson, and it links to WrkPod as well. And your website's really cool. Explains everything. So
Sure
I think
does.
it's a really good website. So you must have designed it.
Yeah.
Well, Kody, look, I'm really pleased that I said to Mark recently, we've got to go back and interview Kody.
That's fantastic.
Because I think big things are happening. So,
That's very kind of
so
you.
thank you for accepting our call, and we will follow your path with great interest.
We wish you all success, Kody.
Thank you. I appreciate you, lads. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye.